Welcome to a 10-minute restoration with me. We are going to explore 3 different options with various different props of Viparita Karani. So that is a legs elevated posture. First of all, we're going to start with the highest one. So we're going to be in a chair. So first of all in a chair. Second of all, legs on the chair on the ground. Third option is using the wall. So just making sure you've got all those things if you're not sure which you want to try. I've also got a bolster, a cushion if you don't have a bolster, or a brick, and then an optional blanket as well. So we're going to start with our two-chair variation. I'm just going to have this bolster to hand as well. So I'm going to have one chair is going to be facing the other. And it's probably better to have the back of the chair to the side so that there is plenty of space for your legs. So we're simply going to lift the legs to rest onto your chair. So this is our first variation. If it feels a little uncomfortable around the knees, for some of us you might want to have a bend in the knees. So we can bring that chair a little closer, and then this bolster might be a little bit too big, but you can use some cushions. And we're going to place that underneath the legs. There we go. So maybe it's a bolster, maybe it's a rolled up blanket. Making sure that you feel comfortable in the back of the body, so just depending on what kind of chair that you're in. And then letting the hands rest with ease. So maybe they are with palms up, maybe their palms resting onto the thighs. And then if we're going to be exploring one of the other options, just going to pop one chair out of the way. So legs on the chair. We're going to keep one chair so that the back of the chair is just to one side. As I bring myself onto the back of my body, I'm going to first of all lift the legs onto the chair. And I like to have a little support behind my head. So I'm just using a folded blanket. And depending on the height of the chair, the length of your legs, you might just need to make a few little adjustments. So making sure it's not digging into the back of the legs. If it is, then we just need to lift the pelvis a little higher. So we're going to bring a cushion or another blanket underneath the bolster, underneath the pelvis, or you can use a bolster. So just see if that feels more comfortable around the back of the legs. It may also be that you want to place a blanket over the edge of the chair just to bring a bit more comfort. But first of all, just making sure that that height is right. Okay, so once you have got that right, then just making sure that the back of the neck feels long. And especially if you haven't got the head resting onto a support. Okay, bringing the arms once again. Maybe they're on the body, maybe they're alongside, resting on the ground. And then coming into our final option, using the wall. We're going to bring ourselves so that we are facing side on against the wall. So then when we lift and swing the legs so that we come onto the back of the body, we're as close to the wall as possible. So starting from here, this may be enough for some of us, but this possibly doesn't feel the most relaxing for some others. So maybe it feels like you're hanging out in the knee joint. So bringing a little bend might help, but then that might sort of bring the feet to fall out to the side, and maybe you find yourself holding yourself in that position. So another alternative to explore is, I'm going to use the bolster, but you can use a cushion or a block. And then using the wall as leverage, pushing the feet, lifting the pelvis and sliding that support underneath the pelvis. So having a shuffle, making sure that you feel secure, that you don't feel like you're going to roll backwards or forwards. And then notice how that feels in your legs. Does it feel more easeful? It may be that you come a little further away from the wall so that the angle feels more relaxing for you to rest the weight of the legs to ensure that we're not holding ourselves in position. So I've got a little bend in the knees. I don't feel like I'm going to rock or come off the support. I feel very rooted in the pelvis. And a little bit of space between the feet, ensuring that we're not holding in the hips, ensuring there's length along the back of the neck, and maybe we've got that support behind us. Bringing your arms to rest, either onto the body to enhance that connection to your breath, bring in that tangible sense of touch so that you can feel that movement along the front of the outline of the body. Maybe the hands and arms are resting onto the ground. The feeling of space and expanse across your chest and collarbones, allowing the arms to feel effortless as they rest on the ground. And maybe for some of us, there's still a little bit of movement, maybe a little fidgeting into the toes or the fingers. So that's perfectly fine. Don't worry about being as still as possible if it means that you're kind of focusing on trying to not move. So just let yourself naturally settle. And maybe closing the eyes or softening the gaze as you encourage the muscles in the face to soften. A gentle release of the jaw, becoming aware of the whole of the body, where you feel connected. Noticing if maybe you can release a little bit more into that support. Are you holding tension in any areas of the body? And then as you bring your awareness to your breath, allowing that to be your anchor. So when you notice things that crop up, whether that's physically or that mind activity within, returning back to each breath, feeling the breath travelling all the way down to the abdomen as we encourage this diaphragmatic breathing to possibly encourage that dominance of the parasympathetic nervous system, entering into this rest and digest state. And as we rest here for the next few minutes, continuously returning back to your being, you have nothing else to do and nowhere else to be apart from being present in yourself. In what it is that you are experiencing. And then we're going to slowly start to bring our awareness back into our legs as we introduce a little bit of movement into the feet, into the hands, and maybe taking a hug of the knees. And if you have that support underneath the pelvis, just going to slide that from underneath you as you land back onto the ground. And then as you lower the legs, now come into rest onto your mat into constructed rest. Pausing here for as long as you like before then coming over onto one side. And just ensuring the head is supported. And if you are resting with your legs on a chair and you are sat on the chair, just gently lifting one leg down at a time. If you're on the ground, we're going to encourage ourselves to an upright position. Thank you so much for joining me for our 10 minutes of restoration. If you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch. And if you give it a try with maybe a different combination of props, then let me know how it is.